I feel my six-pack evaporating. You know, I love my six-pack so much, I protect it with a layer of fat.
Just stop trying to be funny.
All right, look. So, hey, guys, here's the deal. Prosecutors decide whom to charge with a crime and what crime to charge. Police bring evidence to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor decides what to do. Alan, can you be in here today or no? I don't know. Do you need to? Go ahead if you need to. I'd like to actually get some stuff done here. And
wait, what is this about? Is this for this?
It's the Lincoln Douglas talk about plea bargains. It's extremely useful information, but if you don't want to be here for it, go outside for God's sake. Don't sit here and waste all of our time.
Are you sure this is
All right.
it's LB, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so,
The topic is about plea bargains. Plea bargain is about what prosecutors do. Prosecutors decide whom to charge with a crime and what crime to charge. A plea bargain says if you plead guilty to X, we will drop charges Y and Z. All right.
It's like blackmail.
Right.
oh, I read about this before.
So let me give you an example from real life.
Wait, so like X is like a variable? So just add something in there?
Yeah. So let me give you an example from real life. I was on a jury. Edmund's heard this story, I think.
Yeah.
The guy was charged. What the guy did, there were a couple of drunk guys who were harassing him in the parking lot. What he actually did was he hit one of them with a plastic squeegee that broke when he hit the guy with it. The squeegee did. He hit him with a plastic squeegee. And when the guys still wouldn't leave him alone, he pepper sprayed one of them.
Never mind.
Right? Now, what the guy was on trial for, this is what they charged him with. Assault with a deadly weapon, which has a multiple year prison term. Felony assault with a tear gas weapon.
No way.
And simple assault.
So they said assault with deadly weapon.
Wait, so isn't it better for a plea bargain?
So let me tell you what this prosecutor did in this instance. It's very clear. The prosecutor said to the guy, listen, you plead to your actual crime, which is simple assault, or we will charge you with bullshit. If you go to trial with this, Mr. Squeegee wielding pepper sprayer guy, if you go to trial with this, we will charge you with enough stuff that you can go to jail for 25 years. You can go to jail for 25 years on this, or you can plead guilty to simple assault. So what happened in the trial that we were judging is we found the guy not guilty on all charges. As a jury, we refused to find him guilty even of simple assault. What the prosecutor was hoping we'd do is say, well, come on now, that's too much and that's too much. We'll just vote for this. What the jury actually did was said, these are too much and we're not voting for anything. and this guy's going free. And we're voting on self-defense.
Oh.
And that's exactly what happened. So the thing is, if people don't sign those plea deals, it may or may not work in their favor. I'm very close to this topic because my best friend Taylor has spent most of the last 6 months in jail on a drug crime.
Oh, I thought you
This is
so it's
relish.
not the drug, I mean the dog person.
Yeah, it's the goose person,
Oh,
yeah.
it's a goose person.
Oh.
And the police perjured themselves in court. I mean, said they lied before the court in order to get a search warrant that was not justified by the facts. They perjured themselves. The prosecutor, Tracy Beverlin, the police department in particular, there's a police officer named Max Barrett in Kansas, and he's undersheriff Max Barrett in Kansas. He's a perjurer. He lies under oath. And Tracy Beverlin was a brand new prosecutor, pretty incompetent, not really capable of doing her job well. She colluded with this officer in order to use this perjured testimony, uses knowingly perjured testimony to achieve an unjust outcome.
Wait, so that police officer was fired after you lied?
No, he's still walking around town. Well, I know, it's incredible injustice. Of course, the people who should be in jail are Max Barrett and Tracy Beverlin because he perjured himself. She knew he perjured himself, and she used that testimony to justify compelling Taylor into a plea bargain.
What? That must have made you so pissed.
It made me so pissed. The funny thing is, he's been treated like royalty, he says, compared to most people in the criminal justice system. People who are getting a year, taking deals for a year for things they had nothing to do with. He told a story of a guy in jail who was at a house where there was a drug bust made, and at the house there was a quote-unquote baggie with residue in it, and he wasn't even in possession of it. It wasn't even his house, and he took a deal for a year in jail. Yeah. So what is wrong with plea bargaining? Well, it empowers attorneys, namely prosecutors, and prosecutors are some of the least qualified people in the country to do this job. It empowers them to threaten massive harms, not proportional, threats of disproportionate, unjust harms. Unjust harms.
Oh, wait, okay.
In order
Hey, Grant, I'm gonna take a picture of that. Okay?
to coerce.
Your paper.
Oh, okay.
Stick to the whiteboard.
Coerce.
Yeah, you can just,
No, but it's not that.
I mean, mine isn't that neat.
Will you just write it down, you lazy ass? God, can I just use yours, Grant? I'm so goddamn lazy. Threats of disproportionate, unjust harms in order to coerce guilty pleas from people who may or may not actually be guilty of any harm or wrongdoing, or crime even. Coerce guilty pleas, even from the innocent.
Shouldn't people protest so many people protesting for that?
People should protest. I'm protesting it right now.
I mean, no, because
Like, you
people
said
don't
you're
know
getting
about this.
so many families from that.
Listen, the drug war is the single greatest human rights violation that everybody's cool with. Okay, and that's the best way to put it. There's a mistake amongst people that they think that somehow because it's the law or they're legally justified in doing something that it's okay for them to do it. That's absolutely not the case. And in this instance, we can see why. You've got a law that's applied arbitrarily by people who have personal vested interest in the matter, who are working out personal vendettas or their own politics or something like that, ignoring the law themselves in order to apply the law and getting away with it scot-free. The only thing that we can do about it, really, is shame them publicly. Because, of course, they're miscreants and criminals. They deserve to be shamed. They deserve to be in jail. So, the problem is, the plea bargaining topic, plea bargaining might make sense. if and when only transgressive behavior is criminally prosecuted. The drug war invalidates it completely. The drug war means that laws are always applied arbitrarily. Laws against consensual behavior are always applied arbitrarily. Because no one complains when the perpetrator is set free. What does this mean? If I'm being arrested for murder, let's say I murdered Ian's parents, and the cops go, "Hey, Eric, look, we know it got a little out of hand and you killed his parents and everything, but it's okay. We like you a lot. We're going to let you go. It's fine." Would somebody be mad?
Yes.
Would Ian be mad?
Yes.
Now, let's say instead the cops pull me over and I've got drugs on me. Ooh, evil drugs. Let's say I've got some cocaine on me. Let's say the cops find it and then they decide to let me go because I'm nice. They like me. I'm cool. They say, "You know what? I'm not going to bust you. I'm going to throw this cocaine away and let you go." Who's going to complain? Me?
No,
The cops? Who's going to complain about letting me go? Nobody. In fact, if I'm a normal person, I'll drive away and go, "Whew, those are some cool cops." No, those weren't cool cops. Those were criminals who applied the law arbitrarily. Now, nobody's saying they should bust every single person they find with drugs. That would be applying the law non-arbitrarily, but it would still be bad. Why? Because nobody's calling to complain about somebody doing drugs. Nobody calls the cops and says, "Hurry, hurry, I'm in danger. Someone's doing drugs near me." Why don't they do that? Because that doesn't endanger them. If I'm living next door to you and I'm doing drugs, that is not a transgression upon you. I have not harmed you at all. I have not done any harm to anybody.
Well, like if you smoke marijuana,
Well, look, if you have a neighbor who's smoking marijuana and their marijuana smoke is bothering you, I would suggest instead of calling the cops, you walk over and say, "Hey, can you smoke someplace else? It's getting over into my house and bugging me." You know, that's a neighborly thing to do. And if the person who's smoking the marijuana is a decent neighbor, they'll go, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get it over into your house. I'll stop. I'll go over to the other side of the house to smoke."
So what does that say laws
Against consensual behavior. Behavior where both parties consent. So if I sell you drugs and you buy them, I'm not forcing you to buy the drugs. You probably called me up and said, "Hey, do you have any drugs to sell me?" That's consensual. Both parties are consenting to the economic exchange. As a consequence, if either party gets arrested, they're not getting arrested for doing any crime against anybody. Crime should always be followed against by the preposition against. And the only kind of people you can really commit a crime against in reality are other human beings. You can't commit a crime against the government. Why? Who's the victim? Nobody. The government's not a person. So when you commit a crime against another human being, then it's appropriate to take various criminal justice system methodologies and put them into play and to know that this is a good way to deal with justice. But when you're dealing with fundamentally unjust inclusion in the criminal justice system in the first place, about half of all involvements in the criminal justice system have to do with drugs, have something to do with drugs. about half equal drugs. That means about half equal unjust. There is no just reason for you to commit violence or coercion against me if I have not transgressed upon anybody. There's only one way to justify transgressive violence or coercion, and that is in response to other transgressive violence or coercion. All right, so the plea bargaining thing is a big challenge because the prosecutors are threatening a human being with immense harm, removal from society for long stretches of time. Additionally, Taylor spent that 6 months in jail before being convicted of any crime. That was all pre-trial stuff. He posted bail and they searched his house again, and it was ridiculous the amount of abuse he was suffered at the hands of these criminals, Tracy, Beverlin, and Under Sheriff Barrett. So what I'm trying to do is get the word out that in general these two criminals are running amok in Pratt, Kansas, in Pratt County, and causing damage to human beings. They're evil. They're fundamentally don't care about their own moral agency or their own responsibility to do good in the world. They have no problem using force and coercion against people who've done nothing wrong. And that makes them absolute moral reprobates, scumbags in the highest order. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And Tracy Beverlin and Max Barrett, suck it, motherfuckers.